Live with our global community, this is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform bi-weekly development call. Today is May 26th. My name is David Warner with Microsoft, and I will be your host. Let's look at what we're going to talk about today. We're going to have the latest on PnP Framework and Core SDK extension, PnP PowerShell, Yo, Teams, MGT. Welcome back, Seb. The latest on Microsoft Teams samples, Power Platform samples, script samples, so many samples, and we're going to talk about how you can get involved in all of those. And then that'll take us right to the time that everybody loves, picture time with Together Mode. And then we're going to have our amazing stars of the day. Natalie and Miguel are going to talk about independent publisher connectors. Rick is going to cover data loss prevention solution for emails with Microsoft Graph. And Tommy is going to cover TeamsFX.net using SQLite and generic forms for your next Teams dev demo. What are some opportunities for you to participate within our community? There are plenty. You can demo a solution or a technical pattern. We'd love for you to contribute on GitHub, and you can provide feedback. Now, perhaps you've never done a demo today on these calls. We absolutely welcome that, and you can request that, in fact, by using that link right there for requesting demo, aka.ms/m365pnp/request/demo. Contributing on GitHub, there are lots of sample repositories we're going to talk about, and we'll show you exactly how you can get involved if you've never even used GitHub. Providing feedback, there's lots of ways. We love to hear constructive feedback. We love to hear positive feedback. If things are working and you like it, we want to hear more about that. So don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. There are tons of resources within our community. Microsoft 365 developer videos and community videos are available for you. They cover things like this community call and presentations and demonstrations on how to accomplish a variety of topics within our community. We have open source initiatives like PnP.NET Core, SharePoint, CLI for Microsoft 365, a number of other initiatives, and we've got galleries aplenty, samples across our Microsoft 365 and Power Platform communities that include things like Team samples, SPFX samples, Power Platform samples, list formatting, SPFX extensions, so many samples, but you only need to remember one location to get to all of these resources, and that is aka.ms/m365/community. We also have a number of community calls for you to take advantage of. The first one is our platform call. Now, this is a call we'll talk a little bit more in a moment, but it is directly from Microsoft with nothing but Microsoft presenters. We've also got adaptive cards, Microsoft Identity Platform, Office add-ins, and the monthly Power Platform call, along with our two Microsoft 365 platform community calls, one of which is this that you're on right now, and the Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework. Those are bi-weekly calls, and you can access all of our calls at aka.ms/m365/calls. Now, that Microsoft 365 platform call, the next one is on the 31st of May, which is next Tuesday. This is a call that has all Microsoft presenters. Now, this is a fantastic opportunity to get it directly from the mothership. You are going to find information out from program managers, product managers. Everybody in Microsoft is presenting on this call, so we invite you to get it on your calendar. You can get to that by going to aka.ms/m365-call, and there will be a break in the coming months for that, for the summer months, so just keep an eye on that as well, and we'll continue to remind everybody about that as it comes up. Now, along the way, if you're a little unsure on how to get involved in all these initiatives that we're going to show you, do not fret. We want to help you get more involved. Sharing is Caring is a program that's here to provide hands-on guidance. What does that mean? That means that we're going to create safe space opportunities for you to collaborate with members of this team, members of Microsoft, MVPs, and other like-minded individuals in the community. These sessions are hands-on, not recorded, which means they are safe space opportunities for you to come learn together how to accomplish more within the community. Our newest session that's coming up is Writing for the Web, which is a fantastic session with Emily Mancini and Hugo Bernier. And next week, we've got our Power Platform Samples Contributor. This is going to show you how to get all of your amazing Power Platform samples into those sample galleries that also bubble up to the global sample gallery via adoption.microsoft.com. It's a great opportunity for you to be showcasing all of the great work you're doing in the community. Once you do that, we want to celebrate all the amazing work that you're doing in a formal and official way with our recognition program. This is a program that's powered by Credly. Yes, that same Credly that provides those certification badges when you get certified by Microsoft. They will sit right alongside your profile, and you'll be able to show them off in a number of opportunities via LinkedIn, Twitter, put them on your resume, share them with your clients and managers to show that you are formally and officially being recognized and for the efforts that you're putting into the community. We do need you to opt in. You only need to do it once for the entire life. aka.ms/m365pnp-recognition, and we'll connect that to your upcoming contributions and your existing contributions. So please don't hesitate to do that. Now we'll move over to PnP.NET libraries, and we will give our attention to Paolo.
Yes, thank you, David. The PnP framework and PnP Core SDK libraries are still growing and skyrocketing, I would say. We now reached more than 180,000 tenants, which is a huge, really huge number, as well as really huge numbers of downloads. We released version 1.9 of PnP Framework and 1.6 of PnP Core SDK, and we are already working on the next releases of both of them. Specifically in PnP Framework, while we are merging PRs and managing issues, as well as we have got some great contribution from Miguel Angel Garcia Martinez and Christian Zölig, as well as in the PnP Core SDK from Mathis Verbeek. There is also something that we would like to ask you. In fact, we are almost, I would say, feature complete or kind of close to be feature complete from a SharePoint and Teams point of view. But we would like to know if there is anything else that you would like to see in PnP Core SDK. And that's why we created an issue in the PnP Core SDK repo. So let us know through the comments in the issue if there is any special use case that you want to see covered by PnP Core SDK, and we will do our best to make a plan and make it available in the library. As well as if you have any other kind of feedback about what we should do with PnP Core SDK, just let us know. Back to you, David. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Now we'll turn it over to PowerShell, and Gautam will cover this.
Thanks, David. In the PowerShell side of the house, what we did was we released a new Docker image. So this Docker image is also published to the Docker Hub. So you can just pull that image up and use that in your own Docker. Besides that, we added a bunch of new commands. So one of them is the ability to get the replies from a particular chat message. So if there is a message in the Teams channel, you can specify the ID and get the replies from that particular channel message. You can also, if you are also using a private channel, you can also change the role of a particular user inside that private channel. So you can switch between a user who is the owner and member and vice versa. So you can do that. One heavily requested feature was the ability to set the time zone while you're creating a new site. So what used to happen is by default, we used to create the site collection in the tenant specified time zone, but sometimes you wanted to have your own time zone to that. So we added that ability. We also bumped the .NET framework version to 4.6.2 because the previous version got out of support. So we did that. And besides that, bug fixes and improvements continue. So if you would like to know, if you would like to have anything else in the PnP PowerShell side of the house, please reach out to us and open an issue in the issue list. So, yep, that's all from my end. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Gautam. Next up is Yo Teams, and let's give our attention to Rick.
Hey everyone. So on the Yo Team side, we were about to publish version 4, but we had an issue. We yesterday came across an issue in the new Teams.js SDK. So we in version 4.0, we will migrate to the new Teams.js SDK, so version 2. But we came across an issue. So as soon as that issue is closed, you can see a new version pop up of the new Teams apps generator. There are still some issues open. Not big ones, but and some feature requests. So we are looking for people who want to help out. So if you think you have what it takes to help out, or just it's even in the documentation you can help out. So take a look at the PnP GitHub library of the generator for Teams and see what open issues we have. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Rick. Next up, Microsoft Graph Toolkit, and a warm welcome back to Seb.
Thanks, everybody, for that warm welcome back. I'm happy to be back, fully recharged. Well, a little bit tired, but besides that, everything's going fine. For MGT today, I'd like to announce that we just shipped our version 2.5. So quite excited about this, especially with all the news at Build this week. We now have the general availability of our TeamsFX authentication provider. So now you can build TeamsFX applications fully integrated, SSO'd with the Microsoft Graph Toolkit. So that's one of the biggest highlights that we have in this release. We're also looking for help. So if you want to take a good first issue or you want to share your ideas and feedback in our repo, aka.ms/MGT, more than happy to start collaborating with you. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Seb, and congratulations again on the new baby boy. All right, let's move over into our samples, and we'll hand the mic over to Paul Bullock on script samples.
Thank you, David. So script samples is a place where you can automate your 365 services and record your scripts and share them with the community. So we're supporting over just under 220 scripts now, covering the Microsoft Graph, CLI for 365, PnP PowerShell, SPA Management Shell, and onwards. There's really no limit to the number of or types of scripts we can store there. So if you've got any ideas or want to submit any samples, then by all means reach out and we can get that arranged. Now, these samples are integrated into the unified solution gallery, so you'll be able to see those there as well and get that greater exposure. On the samples, we've got a couple of new scenarios. A small typo error there, so sorry about that. But that was actually a conversion of Planner over to a SharePoint list by Albert Jot. So API there, which is super cool. And we've got a double submission from Chandani Padrapati with the SharePoint Online Hub Site Association. So that's SPA Management Shell and PnP PowerShell. We have a number of good first issues in the GitHub repo. So if you've got if you want some sample ideas or want to contribute in that space, you don't know what to think about, and we've got some ideas there for you to contribute in that space. So thank you to Adam Woljak for setting that up, which is super, super cool. So again, thank you for all your samples and contributions. It's been amazing. And also reach out. We've got a badge for you as well if you do submit a contribution through the M365 recognition program as well. Over to you, David.
Awesome, Paul. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, as well. Next up is Team Samples with Bob German.
Hey, this will be quick. We don't actually have any new samples, although really cool one just got submitted 2 hours before this meeting, so I haven't had a chance to look yet. But the amazing Marcus Moeller has submitted a new one, so we'll have that one up for next week. Meanwhile, if you're looking to start a Teams project, see if somebody's already built half of it for you. Go to aka.ms/m365 samples. Or aka.ms/team samples to look through all the samples. And we'd really appreciate your contribution. If you are building any kind of a Teams app, drop a PR and we will happily share it with the community. That's it. Thanks. Back to you, Dave.
Excellent. Thank you, Bob. And friends, ask if you have any questions. We would love to help you provide those samples as well. Don't hesitate to reach out. Next up is Power Platform Samples. Yeah, absolutely. Power Platform Samples with April Dunham.
Thanks, David. So we don't have any new samples this week either. However, with Build, there were tons of Power Platform announcements. So I expect to see some Power Pages samples coming through, and maybe some well-designed Power Apps with the new Express Design functionality in there. I'd love to see that. So if you have any ideas for great samples, please encourage you to get those in the repo there. And as David mentioned as well, we do have a Power Platform contributor sharing is caring session on Tuesday, May 31st. So if you aren't sure how to work with GitHub yet or how to get started submitting the samples, make sure to check that out. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, April. We are going to show you magic in a browser on that session. So if you've not seen how to accomplish all of those kind of contributions using nothing but your browser, sign up for that session. Well, the time has come. Optional picture time. So let's all show our camera for those that would like to show up in the community and wave hello. We will record a animation.
I will get you in here. We are already recording. Let's wait a while. Let's wait a while. Let's wait a while. Let's fill in the screen. I will put my camera on as well. Rick, behave on the back. We can see you. So there I am as well. A few more people. 50 seats. We have a bit less people attending today because there's a lot of countries where this is actually a public holiday due to religious reasons. But let's do some hand waving, everybody. So thank you for joining once again, and we'll grab a GIF animation out of this again as part of the blog post in the social media as well. Thank you, everybody. Awesome to have you in a call and awesome to see you. Yes, awesome. Excellent. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Vesa, and thank you everyone for being so collaborative. Let's get back to our slides, and we will start with our amazing presenters of the day. The first two being Natalie and Miguel on updates on independent publisher connectors and a demo. So Natalie, take it away.
Thanks, David. Hi, everyone. Hope you're all doing well today. So just going to give an update on the independent publisher side. So independent publisher connectors are connectors published by anyone onto the Power Platform. So they show up in Power Automate, Power Apps, and Azure Logic Apps, just as any other connector is. So we have 128 connectors in production, built by 46 outstanding publishers, all listed on the right side here. And we had 11 submissions so far this month. Had a couple of new folks contributing, which is super awesome to see. So welcome to those folks into the community. And going into the connectors we have in our pipeline, we currently have 27. So really excited to get these published. We are growing our certification team so that we can produce a better experience for everyone going through this program. And today we are here with Miguel, who will be giving us a demo on his connector. Go ahead, Miguel, over to you.
Hello. So I will just briefly go through sort of the journey of creating a connector. This is me. If you want to contact me, yeah, you can. I also have an internet page, but I will get to that a bit later. But I am located in the Netherlands. So it's basically the fifth country in Europe based on population density. After these small countries, yes, we have these kind of small countries in Europe. And if you look at the absolute numbers, it might not look as pretty high, but if you compare it to other countries like major economies in Europe, you can see that the number is actually quite high. So you also know that you probably know that at least the Netherlands is famous for their cyclists, right? So you might think that a lot of people commute by bike to work, but actually that's just, as you can see, 6.7%. So that's quite low, which was a bit stunning for me. And yeah, you would think that we have a pretty good train connection. So you might think that's a good alternative, but that's also pretty low still. And also, even in the Netherlands, where everything is so close by and everything is in close proximity, the car is still the predominant way of travel. So actually, in this day and age, we would want the people to choose a train over a car every day, basically. Based on personal experience, I think that's already the case. So I would choose a train always over a car because I don't like traffic jams and that sort of stuff. But there are still two major downsides to train travels, which are they run at a specific time. And if the train is delayed or canceled, you will have to wait like this man below on a train station, what nobody wants to do, right? So that was basically the incentive for me to start developing a custom connector. And once I heard that you could make it into an independent publisher connector that I could share with everyone, I thought, okay, let's give it a try. That's interesting. So what I did is I went online. This is like the Dutch website. So this is the Nederlandse Spoorwegen, which is the main railway operator in the Netherlands. And they actually have an open API that you can use. You can just create a free account there, and then you can basically get an API token. All the documentation is here. So based on that, I first created a custom connector. So that's up here. And here you can see that there are more operations in the documentation, but for my personal use case, only these four were interested. We don't have to go too much into detail, but basically these are the four operations in there. That's the custom connector, and for an independent publisher connector, you have to do some a little extra to make sure that it's in line with what Microsoft wants you to do. So therefore, there's this the GitHub repository from Microsoft. You can get all information there. There's also on the Microsoft Docs website, there's all sorts of documentation. But what you can see up here, these are some of the things that you should add to it. And that's pretty cool. Then you can share it. So I can share you right now what I did. So every day, for this scenario, I thought, okay, let's do the Amsterdam office. It's in or the Microsoft office. It's at Schiphol Airport, and I live in Rotterdam. So basically, if I would work on a Microsoft office, I would go by train back home, and then I want at a specific time. So the recurrence. So every day, this flow will run. I use the independent publisher connector. And then I get a message which says we can actually just show it directly. Oh, I need to test. So what you can see, now it's running. I get a notification, but it's every day it runs. It uses the independent publisher connector. I do some data wrangling sort of stuff, so just some cleanup stuff, and then I post a message in a chatbot. So if we go here, you can see this is actually right now. So at 16:23, there is a train coming, and it's leaving from track 5. That's what it says. So instantly, I get a notification. Okay, so this is also sort of the trigger for me. Okay, it's time to pack my stuff, and I know instantly at what time it's there, if it's delayed. And here you can see that sometimes it's at 5, sometimes at 6. So now I know instantly it's at track 5. So that's super convenient for me. So now I know, okay, there are no delays. I can pack my stuff and directly go to the train station. Or if there's a delay, I could maybe work a little longer and then wait for the delay to be resolved. Another option is what can be done is nowadays with the new map functionality, which is pretty cool, we can also sort of make a sort of a Power BI kind of look to it. So I can click here. So you see Schiphol Airport, and here you can see. I can zoom in again a bit. Here you can see all the departures from that location, and also the disruptions that are there at that moment. So yeah, that's basically what the connector does. If you're interested in creating one for yourself, I mentioned this website. I keep a monthly blog, or like I make challenges, and the challenge for April was basically for these independent publisher connectors. So if you're interested, this is sort of like a guided tour to guide you through it. And I also highly recommend signing up for the Microsoft 365 developer program. That you get this tenant for yourself, that you can basically do everything without any limitations from your organization. Yeah, I think that's it from my side.
Awesome, Miguel, Natalie, thank you both. This is really, really cool to see the creativity and ingenuity going into these publisher connectors. So well done to you and the rest of the team that's pumping all these out with amazing creativity. So thank you. Next up is Rick on data loss prevention solution for emails with Microsoft Graph. So Rick, take it away.
Yeah, my screen. I think it's this one. So, data loss prevention solution with the Microsoft Graph. There is already, of course, a data loss prevention available in Microsoft 365, and part of it is insider risk management, or it's pure view these days. Insider risk management, it's very good, but it's a very broad spectrum of alerts. So you not only email checking and seeing who sends emails, for instance, externally with attachments, but also SharePoint and Teams, and then the you can even see if somebody downloads something to a USB drive, stuff like that. So it's very, very broad. If, for instance, in our case, we needed to check, okay, what if people are leaving? And that's one of the main cases of insider risk management. An employee leaves the company. Or is he going to take, I don't know, the Excel file with all the customers in it along with him to his next job? Yeah, that's maybe not a good idea, or we don't want that. So you can create what's called an HR connector. So actually it's a CSV file, and you can upload that to PowerShell, and then the system knows, okay, this person has recently got this resignation, or got fired, or gave his resignation himself. So we can set, okay, this is the date he got his resignation, and this is the date that he actually leaves the company, and then he's monitored a little bit more. All very good, but yeah, as you all know, it's not customizable. So how to create your own email monitoring solution. Now, let's do demos, because I'm not a slide kind of person. So let's go. I'll first show you the insider risk management. So if you want to do the HR connector, as it's called, you can go to Microsoft Preview, say data connectors, you create your own connector, which is creating an Active Directory app registration, just client ID and secret. You don't need to give it any permissions. then you say this is a connector, you get a connector job ID, and you create your own CSV file. I have it somewhere here. See, just email address, resignation date, and last working day. I took 2 people here. I uploaded that one with a script, so it's kind of also a little bit of custom development because yeah, you see this script. Okay, it's an example provided by Microsoft, but it's one hell of a script. It's, let me check, 300. I don't need to zoom in, but it's 362 lines, so it's not perfect. And now everybody knows my client secret, but I'll change it afterwards. And then in information risk management, inside the risk management, you can say, okay, this is the policy, and I want to check, for instance, everybody who got uploaded. Microsoft recommends that the CSV file, you upload that, and daily you schedule the script, and daily things change. So every day you export that information. It's all good, but of course, security guys, we all know them, they need a lot more information. So how are we going to, if somebody, for instance, sends an email outside of the company, how are we going to check that? Because this will, as you can see, let me see if I can create a policy, let's show you the policy. For instance, the, let me check, next. As you can see here, the thresholds, for instance, 10 to 20 events a day generates a low severity alert. Yeah, we don't want an alert. No, we really want to see what people are doing. So the classic way to do that is create a webhook or a subscription on somebody's inbox. I think most people, this has been around for quite a while. So we create a subscription on somebody's inbox with the Microsoft Graph, meaning every time somebody sends an email, I think in this case, it's in my inbox. So every time I get an email, but if you change this to send items, also works. So every time I get an email, the graph will notify my webhook. So an endpoint I put publicly somewhere with, hey, there's something has happened. It will not say what has happened, but it will say something has happened. And then I will have to get that information myself. So check what is the event that occurred. So what was the email, get the email, and then do my rules. So we use an Azure function for this one. As you can see here, we have a notification function. We get notified, and of course, that's the entire thing with the webhooks. So the moment you create a subscription, the function has to be alive because the webhook will check the subscription. Hey, is it alive? Is the webhook alive? So is that Azure function alive? And then you get a token, and you have to send that token back. And then once that's okay, the subscription will keep alive for a certain amount of time, depending on what server it is. SharePoint, it's really long. It's longer. I think Exchange is only a week or something. So every week you need to update that subscription. So let's just create one. I created one. So I will create a subscription. And at the same time, of course, my function has to be online already. So I have my ngrok running here somewhere. As you can see, I have my it's this function .ngrok.io. So it's actually not simple to debug build because you're creating a subscription. So where do I create my subscription? Let me delete all the subscriptions. And then the moment I create my subscription, of course, my webhook has to be alive. As you can see here, if I go to all of this, there is a token in it, and I have to send that token back. Otherwise, the graph will say, hey, this is not a valid endpoint. I'm not creating your subscription. So the moment I do that, now I've returned that subscription is active and I have a valid subscription. Meaning, if I send an email to myself, I think it was on inbox. So let me just check. So if I send from another email, yeah, we don't need labels, of course. So if I send an email to myself on my inbox, where is it? This one, just test. Then we're good to go. Then we should get a notification from the Microsoft Graph. Hey, there was an email coming in. Should happen every second. Now, if the email comes in, should happen. There we go. Takes a while for the email to come in. Now the email came in, and now I should have a trigger if everything goes well. Not yet. No trigger. Okay. So as you can see, this is the point I'm making. It's hard to debug. It's hard to create because you're working with ngrok and all that stuff. You have to make sure that your function is already prepared before you can even start creating a subscription. So it's very hard to build as well. There is, of course, a new way to do this. That's with an event hub. So we can also say, hey, instead of using my own webhook or webhook that I created, we can also say, okay, Microsoft Graph, go to the event hub. So I created an event hub, and then the Microsoft Graph will say, okay, instead of going to the endpoint of the webhook or the Azure function you created, let's go to the endpoint of an event hub. It's also a little bit more secure and a little bit more stable, because of course, if you, let's say, for instance, turn off your Azure function, or you have to keep it alive because it goes to sleep, this event hub never goes to sleep. So how does it work? Actually, it's pretty cool, because you first have to create a key vault, and on that key vault, you will say, hey, the connection string to my event hub, well, that connection string, that's actually hidden. So this is the connection string to my event hub. I put that in the key vault, and I actually tell the Microsoft Graph, don't take my connection string to my event hub, but that, because that would not be secure. No, hey, Microsoft Graph, you get access to my key vault. As you can see with access control, you should see here role assignments, and there is a very specific one. Where is it? There is a very specific one called Graph. I think it only has access to the secret, of course, called Graph Automation. And that Graph Automation app registration, it's already in your tenant, will have access to that connection string, and will get that connection string for you first off, and then we'll publish something to the event hub. So if you can see that, if I go back to the event hub, sorry for this one, as you can see here, with this event hub, we have two policies. Shared access policies, two policies. The graph, so the Microsoft Graph, can only send to my event hub, and my custom code can only listen on my event hub. So on an event hub, you have senders and you have listeners. So in this case, it's very secure, because my custom code can only listen. It cannot intervene with the event hub. It cannot send other stuff. No, only the graph can send stuff to that event hub. So if we go back to our code, we have a durable function here. Also, we have a second problem that we also have. What if, so as you saw, I created a subscription. So where's this one? So I created my subscription. This takes, come on, for instance, let's say 10 seconds. Now, let's say 2 seconds that it runs to create a subscription. What if we have like 50,000 users? We have to keep that subscription alive, so meaning for Exchange, every week we have to do an update of the subscription, because it's going to expire. So you give an expire date, but there's a max limit, of course. So what if you have to do like 50,000 times 2 seconds? Yeah, that takes a long time, and you're running code again and again and again and again and again. Well, and of course, maybe we don't want to check all users. Maybe we want to check, I don't know, certain Active Directory groups. Okay, you're building code again to check Active Directory groups, who's a member of this group, the people we have to monitor, and then maybe whatever rule you can find on people who to check, you have to write that custom code yourself. Well, there's also a cool old trick to it, and it's called transportation rules. It's been around for millions of years, and I created a simple transportation rule that says every time Rick sends an email, so this is just me, but we can add multiple conditions. So there's more conditions, the recipient, if it has attachments, what are the message properties, are there headers? This has been around a long time ago, so it will, if you go to an Exchange expert, they will configure that perfectly for you. So every time Rick sends an email, we'll send an incident report. It's called an incident report, and you send it to a mailbox. This way, it's easy to configure. If the sender is member of that group, or if the sender is a shared mailbox, whatever, you can configure that in these conditions. This is the little bit of the ugly part. I'm still figuring that one out, but you get an incident report, meaning it looks like this. Let me open it up. It's just plain text. So Rick sent an email. It was Microsoft build. I sent it to this recipient, and it was data platform. So it generated an incident report because I created an email. I created a monitored email inbox, meaning I just have to create a subscription from the Microsoft Graph on one inbox, because yeah, it's only one inbox that I have to monitor. Making it easier, I just have to run that 2-second subscription update at the end of the week every week. Now, we can also create, so the previous one was a function that got triggered by an HTTP event. Now we don't do that anymore. We have an event hub trigger. So every time something is added to this event hub, it will run. This event hub is it can take away more events than your own Azure function, or you have to scale it a lot, or you're paying for a lot. So in this case, the event hub will gather everything, and then your code can easily simply do everything itself on a slow pace. It doesn't need to be super fast. So let me just start this one up. Set a starter project. Now in this case, I needed to, of course, send an email. So, oh, there's already something in the event hub. I probably sent something out. Let's go to the next one, and let me just send an email just to be sure that it's the last one. So I'll send a new email. I'll send it again to myself. There we go. Test. There we go. Normally an incident report should come in. So it's a little bit slower. See, there's already the incident report. Now my event hub, if my subscription is still alive, I hope so, should be triggered. Think so, is it? Yeah, see, could be that my trigger is not working anymore. There we go. We send one more email just to be sure. You know what? Let's update the subscription. So I have my subscription. Let me quickly say this one, as you can see here. So this is the important part, actually. So this is my normal notification URL. So I have a function. Hey, Microsoft Graph, call this notification URL. In this case, no, call this event hub. And this event hub, as I already said, this is not the connection string to my event hub. No, this is to my Azure Key Vault. I'll put it a little bit bigger so you can see it. This is to my Azure Key Vault, secrets, and the one I called event hub graph. And of course, my tenant ID has to be in it. So the moment I run this one, it will create a new subscription. Oh, I of course have to put it to, there we go, set a starter project. And then we have a subscription. How am I doing on time? I have to stop talking within 2 seconds. So we have a subscription. Let me try the last one. Set a starter project. Good to go. And as you can see here, this event hub, this is the magic. So as you can see here, let me go until, where's the message body? So this is actually not the email that got sent. It was the subscription I just created. But the subscription is already created. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to return whatever code. So in this case, the subscription got created. I have a subscription. Now I can send an email and it's good to go. In the end, I'm not using I'm not running all my code at once. No, I'm starting a durable function. So in this case, a durable function, which is super cool. If you haven't used it, use it. So it will get my data loss prevention entity. It will call whatever rule you want, and it will report my email. So let me go back to the slides. Let's do a quick recap. So we can use the Microsoft Graph subscription to get notifications about events, in this case emails, but OneDrive events, Outlook events, security alerts, SharePoint teams, whatever you want. There's a lot of them. We use Event Hub to increase performance and stability and to make it a little bit easier for us developers. Also, the public URL is not exposed because we don't say, as you can see, the Microsoft Graph only knows our key vault, and we can use transport rules to keep subscriptions to a minimum. I've added the resources here. You will get those later as well. Thanks.
Awesome. Very, very cool stuff, Rick. Really appreciate diving in deep there. Really interesting to see and appreciate the extra effort. Tommy is up next on TeamsFX.net using SQLite and generic forms for your next Teams dev demo.
Hello, welcome. Short look at TeamsFX and how to use SQLite and generic forms for your next Teams developer demo. We're going to do something that the product group from the source code generator from C# actually doesn't want you to do, but for a demo thingy. So that's all about today, about a little bit how you can be fast in pre-sales environments. That's okay, but right off the top, don't do that in production, please. So that's me, short and sweet couple of possibilities to reach me afterwards, and of course, keep the questions coming. Hopefully everyone in this call is somehow in business. I guess I know quite a few people in the call. A few of us are consultants, a few of us are in internal IT, but hopefully our businesses are working splendidly and we sell our goods or sell our work, whatever it is, but we are in the business of selling something. Selling something means we need to work with salespeople, of course. And apologies to every salesperson that call, you will be my target of joking in the next couple of minutes. Because why? Yes, we all know that of course you can use whatever random product name to migrate your ERP solution to the cloud, right? That's something that we all live through, but this talk especially is focused on how we as developers maybe can be a little bit better or maybe a little bit faster and working together with our dear friends from the sales team. So a small one-on-one how to make your salesperson happy. First of all, be responsive. And by be responsive, and responsive is on purpose, quote unquote, because responsive means in that case not to be in different shape and form depending on your screen resolution, but they normally like you when you are quickly and fast with your answers. Another good thing would be that you understand the problem quickly. Of course, you need to answer all the technical questions, and then you need to, of course, create stunning demos. And that's actually the thing that we want to do today. Just short for reference, we are going to build something in TeamsFX. This is the one platform slide that shows you what you can do with the Microsoft Teams platform. And we're focusing on this area over here. So web technologies with TeamsFX. That's it from the slides. So let's move over to some demo code. I already started the demo over here. So what we're going to looking at is something that is a tab inside of Teams. And apologies for the UI isn't really great because I realized only earlier today that will not be able to share actually our internal or our customer project because it is all branded and there are so many names in there. So I went and created a new Blazor project and morphed it into Teams quickly this morning. So apologies for the design, but you are all here to learn something. And by learning something, we're looking at technology. So hopefully you accepted little glitch that we are using basically the boilerplate from a Blazor server application inside of Teams, of course. The application is pretty simple. We have here some menu entries. And in that screen, for example, we could manage our car inventory. The idea is that for a lot of demos, we need to create something in way of a form where customers are able to put data into it and then we can play with it. And what I learned in the last 10 years, it's really, really cool if you are able, and maybe you're a team of 2 persons and you're trying to really understand your customer. And one of you is actually talking with the customer. Another one sits on your screen or on the computer and creates some mockups. Doesn't need to be perfect, just that you are on the same page. Just that you have a tooling and a way of communication to be quicker in understanding each other and to be quicker from the technical part of side to understand the business case, but also for the business user to have the opportunity to really understand, and sorry for the Microsoft jargon, but the art of the possible. Always wanted to say that in a demo, but really to understand what's possible in terms from the technology here, and that really helps. What we can do here is, for example, let's change the plate number of this nice car here, change it to 13, and then we submit it, and then it's fine. In the background, and we're starting with the demo, and then we go to the tech stack. But what happened actually is that we stored that in our SQLite database over here. So let me make a refresh here. Query, select, and play. You see the 13 here. So SQLite. Super easy, super quick database tool that you can use inside of your .NET application. And that's just a way of, okay, we can showcase our customer that we can use data in a normal SQL way. And we will see in the code how easy it is to set up. And maybe also if you take parts of it to something that really is then going to be a solution or a product, how easy it is actually to convert this to maybe Azure Cosmos DB, for example. But SQLite, local stuff to develop, really, really easy. If you search with your search engine of choice, you will see that people are using SQLite inside of Azure Functions, inside of other Azure services, just because, yeah, it's free. So that's a cool thing. And we still are able to, let's say, quote unquote, develop in a proper way with it. But you see here with this application, we have here cars, we have here ships, and we have a different entities, and it's always the same. Yeah, we can create new stuff, we could delete existing stuff, or we can update our products. That's why it's already hinting something, calling it product over here. So some kind of generic mechanism may be included. My backup demo for today would be PnP demo slots. Again, speaker name, topic, timestamp, and account, maybe how often this or the speaker already spoken in let's say a year, or I don't know if there's a keeps track of everyone and there's a big statistic, but yeah, just some random data fields, and to be able to then in a demo scenario be quickly up and running with a form, and you can actually really talk about the business case and how it feels and really see it on the screen. How can we achieve that in Teams? Pretty, yeah, not saying the whole generation of it easy, but when you are at a certain point, then it's really easy how to extend that one over here. So let's move over to Visual Studio, and I stop my debugging session now, and I will explain the technical part from what you just saw, and in the end, we hopefully will be able to add another entity and see the whole thing working. What you're having here is a solution that includes multiple projects. For the demo of today, we'll focus on the SQLite demo Teams app. That's basically a TeamsFX Blazor server application. If you are not familiar with Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio, there is, I think, at least 5 or 6 videos already on the Microsoft 365 community YouTube channel explaining and introducing you to the topic. We won't go into the deep down into the Teams stuff in order of the TeamsFX. We want to focus more on what we can achieve after the entry level. So if you're not familiar with that, just after this call, head over to YouTube and then basically take the basic lesson and then maybe come back to this video tomorrow or after the day tomorrow when it is available again. So that makes me more a sense if you're really not familiar with TeamsFX at all right now. But from that project, from that solution, we're also using a source code generator over here. So you see there's this SQL data demo generator, and we know that this is actually a source code generator because if you look at how this project is set up, you see in my TeamsFX project over here, the package reference, I'm including, or is it down here, my SQLite data demo generator with this output item type analyzer. And that basically tells Visual Studio we are including what's called a source code generator. That's basically something that is on top of all things that Visual Studio offers us in terms of analyzers. And those analyzers are not only able to analyze your code, but you're also able now to create code based on your code. So what does that do? If you look at the file over here, we are going through the syntax tree of the compilation. How does this work? Actually, before this project over here is finally ready to get compiled, our source code generator does a pre-step. So before Visual Studio sends everything for compilation, we are creating additional stuff. And we are creating this additional stuff based on code that's already in our project over here. So that's why we are going through the syntax tree, and we are looking for a file called mydbcontext.c#. That's something we will see in a couple of seconds. It's a file part of my Teams project over here. And in this file, we are looking for a specific element. Let's find the code to see what we're looking at. We are searching for an identifier with the value of db set, because in our service class, we are using entity framework. And with entity framework, we're using db sets to basically define our objects, our entities, and then get stored and used with Entity Framework. And the code over here basically looks at the syntax tree, looks at the generated code of your project, and then let's say in a high-level world, put some additional layers, some additional files in there. How are we going to do that? We create basically source classes. So we can say context at source, we give it a name, and then we basically inject a big string into that method. And that string, just for reference once, let's open a sample over here. You see here, to get the database service class, for example, everything is working with big strings, and those strings get filled with our properties, and basically those things generate our classes that then are used in the complete project at compile time. But we are not only creating C# files, we are also creating Razor files. So we are also creating Razor components over here. You see it here. I'm just using file, write all text, and create a Razor page. And actually, those kind of lines over here, that's the thing that you should not do in a production project. Because everything that is built with .C#, you see, you can say context at source. So the source code generators are really meant to create another class level, another class file, because then Visual Studio takes care of everything. What we are actually doing is that we create our own folder over here with auto-generated Razor files and reuse that capability to create our own files in here. The problem with that is if you're just using, let's say, I'm in the end of the day, we'll use like 15 files. That's not really a problem. But if you're building source code generators, most of the time you'll be speaking of hundreds or thousands of files that get generated. And they get generated basically every time you save something in Visual Studio. And you won't do that in terms of that you really create your class files, like really like files on a disk, like I do over here. You should do it like this because this is basically in memory only. So it's not going to make a load on your disk, and it's not going to defragmentize your disk and all those kind of things. So that's why the product group of the source code generators is like, yeah, maybe, yeah, you can do it. It's technically possible, but not. It's maybe not be the smartest move to do in a production wide. But for our demo case, it's really, really a cool thing. Because what we actually can do now is that we can go over to our data folder and have a look at our different entity classes. For example, our car class or our ship class that we saw earlier. And then let's create a new class over here. And we're not going to actually create a new class. We, of course, have something prepared over here. So we create or copy this file over here and paste it. And then we do the old trick of rename a file and remove the text ending. And ta-da, if we press yes, we have our horse class in here. And you cannot do a PnP demo without a reference to a warrior horse, right? And of course, you cannot create a horse entity without some column formatting and view formatting fields because horses are designed that way. But with that, what we also can do now is that we can go into our DB context. That's actually what we're searching for in our source code generator. And then we create public a DB set of type horse. Here we are. Horses. Oh, where is that over here? Let's copy it from that one. Come on, Lee. Do we need to save that first or why? Let me fix that later. We also annotate it with our own marker here because we might create something that we don't want to use in our project over like this. Let me just check for a second why we don't get this here. This looks nice. What's the problem with you? Did I miswrite something? No. Huh. Cool effect. Let's try to build that. Maybe we have some issues with a new created file. Could not be found. Maybe the renaming wasn't the smartest thing. And I'm running out of time. But actually, when we, sorry for that, but when this class actually would be referenced in my context file, automatically we would generate those files over here. And you see the razor file actually got created already. So we already created our horse form, for example. So we see an edit font over here, we see a grid component over here, and we see a page over here. And I'm running out of time, so I'm not do the demo in the full again. But the only thing that actually stops me now for pressing F5 and seeing this horse class resembled also in application is two things. I would need to say add migration for my entity framework to be recognized in terms of that the database knows actually my class. And then it would say update database. And with that, it automatically, you saw already here, it creates the razor pages in here. And then I would be able to reuse basically the code from the source code generator in my project. And the only thing that I would need to create in a demo case is a new data element here, and then we're good to go.
So actually, back within the demo, I have no exact idea what actually happened at the live demo in the call, but I just deleted our horse file and created it again. And it seems now it works. So it looks like the renaming effort wasn't the smartest move. But with that, we still need to do one more thing. So we ended in the previous video basically with me failing in the demo and not be able to showcase our horse efforts, our warrior horse efforts as a generic form. So we still need to deploy our database connection. I open up the package manager over here. Let me make that a little bit bigger down there and add a new migration. So that's the way to tell the EF core framework that we have a new entity present. Add migration horses. Let's see, build succeed. That looks good. So it actually opens up the migration file where it basically shows in code how Visual Studio should interact, our code should interact with the EF core framework and SQLite. I will say update database as well. That looks good. Now let's press the play button over here and rebuild and deploy and debug locally our solution. Need to switch from that monitor over here. We install our SQLite demo app. And here we are with our horses entry in the menu. And if I click here, no horse basically is present. Let us double check that in SQLite. Reload the tables. Yep, you see horses are here. That's because we actually interact with the entity framework core. Move that to the side a bit. What would be a good horse name? I don't know. Not so creative now. Let's call him or her fast runner. 5 years, color black. Yeah. No idea. Copy that once. Copy it twice. Submit. Now I don't want to save information edge. Thank you. You see it's over here in our grid view. And if we look in our SQLite Studio, we go to the horses, make a query here for select, press play, and you see our fast runner here. So that was the actual plan to show. Needed 3 more minutes. So thank you now for your attention and hopefully see you soon in the next PnP Microsoft 365 community call.
So with that, one more thing in terms of what we saw over here. So the use of TeamsFX to scaffold the Teams tab in the Blazor project, Entity Framework Core to manage data in SQLite, the source code generators, and we're using generic forms from, I hope, Gérard Beret from Microsoft MVP of Visual Studio, who has the forms basically that I'm using here. Show you some Warrior host code as well. And back to David.
Awesome. Thank you, Tommy. All right, let's get back to our slides and wrap up. We want to thank all of our presenters today, Natalie, Miguel, Rick, and Tommy. What do we think? Excellent stuff. Awesome stuff. Excellent. All right. Thank you again for your demos and presentations. The recording of this will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft 365 Community YouTube channel, aka.ms/m365/videos. And if you subscribe, you'll get the alert as soon as it's available. You may see it in the Teams chat that it's done and ready for download. Unless you're in Microsoft, you won't be able to download it. So make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at Microsoft 365 Dev or at M365 PnP. The next M365 General Dev and Power Platform call will be 2 weeks from today, June 9th at 7 a.m. And the next Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework call will be June 2nd next week at 7 a.m. Pacific time. You can subscribe to all these and download the invites at aka.ms/m365-community. Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful call. Have a fantastic long weekend in the States and a fantastic weekend for everyone else in our global community. Thank you all.